Well, hello, welcome to INXS Access All Areas, episode 215, the podcast that aims to dive deep in all things great about our favourite band, doing it with a bunch of listeners around the world, patrons, INXSs, but more importantly, doing it with my partner in crime, B. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Haydn. I do have to apologise to the listeners for last week. I did leave the old roll call of the patrons out there, and we've got two new ones, so we will definitely be mentioning those later on in the show. Yes.
We shall. So, look, we're pretty excited today because, without jumping the gun, we're going to talk all things about an album that relates to the past, but also relates to the future in a certain way. So, if you've been living under a rock, you probably... the only way you would realise that Listen Like Thieves Redux version is about to come out in May. More of that a little bit later, but I always like to start things off by saying, B, how's your INXS week been?
Oh, it's been pretty exciting, to tell you the truth. But it's really good. Can you see above my head what's going on there, Haydn?
I can see on the left-hand side of your shoulder, it looks like there's a little version of Michael standing up above you. Is that right?
That's right. That's the mini-me Michael. Well, not mini-me, mini-Michael. We've purchased a life-size cutout of Michael for everyone to have their photos taken with him at the party.
Yes.
And he's been frightening me all day, actually, because I keep forgetting he's in the living room and I go out, come back in, and there's this band of stuff.
And is there a rumour true that there could be a certain member of your family who's developed a crush on said Michael? Is that right?
Yes. After today, because Michael does look pretty delicious in this cutout in his leather trousers. And
this is 1987 Michael, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think he's got boxing gloves on. I really thought they were gloves like for drumming, but I think they're little boxing gloves. But yeah, she's developed a crush and she says, "Mom, can I come to the party?" So yeah, we might have my daughter there for you to all meet.
Right. Okay. Now, when does she turn 18, B?
A couple of months later.
Right. Okay.
The month later.
Right. Okay. Well, we are having a 5th anniversary birthday party on, I think it's Mother's Day weekend here in Australia when it does happen, which is sort of May the 10th or weekend of. The exciting thing for listeners coming down, and we've got people from overseas coming in. Are there any hints or anything you can drip feed out to the audience about? I know we've got some surprises, but is there anything you can share that might make it interesting for more people to come along?
Okay, well, do you remember Richard Simkin?
Yep.
Richard's coming along. He's going to
pictures, Michael. Yes, Richard.
Yeah, Richard, who did that wonderful book of Michael. It was wonderful. And he says he's happy to sign anybody's, if they want to bring their dust jackets, he'll sign those for you if you need to. But he's got some rare footage of Michael at Rhino Studios, and he's going to show that to us all. Yeah, so we've got this massive screen, and there'll be lots of things going on with this screen. We'll be there. And then we've also got Blair. He's going to be doing a stripped down version of INXS, acoustic style. So playing with a few drinks, and we're going to...
I'm glad you extended the description of stripped downs, because then you and Karen Peters, you would have a connection there if you did the form.
I know. It could out Michael and Blair. It's going to be pretty good. Yeah. So we're all excited. Some of the patrons are naming some of the drinks ready for the cocktails. There's some great ones coming up. And also we've got a Spotify list. So when you actually get your ticket, you'll get a link to the Spotify list, and then you can start putting your songs on there, and then we can start playing them. Did you see that? I think we might have a way of getting back onto Spotify, Haydn.
Heard a rumour. We were taken down by Spotify for being too popular. No, we were we're probably taken down from, depriving the artists of 50 cents on the dollar for something, which Spotify act the moral high ground. But we better play ball because Spotify...
But you know me, Haydn. I don't like rules.
No, that's all right. Who's flying in from overseas?
Yes, we've got John Jamin, and then we've got Danielle and her husband, and we've also got a really cool guy called Bruce Varan and his model girlfriend or friend. I'm not sure if it's his girlfriend or friend. They're coming over. And then we've got a few people maybe coming from Canada. And maybe JD. No, we don't know. Shh. Don't say anything, B. And then we've also got a lot of people coming in from interstate. And as you know, Australia's quite big. So that's quite a big deal for us to go interstate. Although you're coming in from... John A. Vink, Jackie, Sheila, Helen, Brett, Suzanne, Glenn, Laurel, Bard, Laurie, Manny, Jill, Heidi, Paula, Lisa, Michael Spriggs. So that was Stu from Hull in UK and Ali from Florida in the USA. Stu absolutely loves you, loves all your deep dives. And I think he's a big fan of you, Stu. Yep. Yeah.
We're due for a patron sort of Zoom get together, haven't we? We haven't done one for a while. So maybe Stu and Ali and some other newbies can jump onto that. It would be great.
That'd be wonderful.
All right, B. Well, we're getting into the topic in a moment, but as we like to do, a little bit of a hint. We're going to talk about the INXS Listen Like Thieves Redux reversion reboot for May, I think the 9th it's coming out. So looking forward to going back in time and giving a bit of context around Listen Like Thieves when it was released, but also bringing it into the modern equivalents of the Redux version coming out. So looking forward to sharing that with you in a moment's time.
Fantastic. Can't wait.
All right, B. What's the time for?
It's time for the news.
I'm John from California, and this is the news.
All right, now B, we were able to get onto YouTube this week, but there is some socials there as well where we can see Beers with Beers at the Glenmore Hotel, I think last weekend, where, Toby and Gary were able to play, I think, Listen Like Thieves to a couple of punters there. Got a feeling Karen Peters might have been there. I thought I saw her head bobbing up and down. I wasn't sure if it was her. She was there on the Sunday. I assume she would have never missed the opportunity. So if you go to sort of YouTube, you'll see, if you're plugging Gary Beers, Glenmore Hotel, you'll sort of see some footage of a stripped-down version of Listen Like Thieves. At the same time, also, I think Gary was interviewed by the Moreton Daily, which is an online publication around sort of Clontarf. The boys were staying there over the few days when they were in Sydney. Clontarf's a special memory for us, B, isn't it? Because that's where we went and recreated the Stay Young video back on our birthday. Also, too, we haven't really done much acknowledgement to the touring acts, the cover bands, but you and I, we did have a great night out at the Palms Crowns about 2 years ago, I think, where we went and saw Don't Change, and I think they're back there in November the 1st.
No, not Don't Change. Was it INXS?
Was it INXS we saw there or Don't Change? It might have been INXS we saw there.
At Palms, in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it might have been that because you hadn't seen them before. Yes.
No.
Yes. But the Don't Change boys are there this time. So on the 1st of November. So, it's a pretty big venue and they really packed them in there. So I think it's probably one of the seminal gigs of the year that, the band do look forward to doing. Also, too, there is a popular publication called The Singer's Room. It constantly seems to be refeeding the 10 best INXS songs. So if you plug in Singer's Room, 10 best songs from INXS, I think they've rotated another 10 this time around. Always handy to read the description of those songs and their impact. Also, friend of the band, B, Kate Sobrano, who I guess was around about the era of the Australian Maid tour, sort of doing her own recreation a bit this time, some 40 years later. But she was only 19, 20, and she shares an anecdote of Michael climbing up the balcony late at night into her hotel room. So I don't know what extent there was behind a page as to know more about shenanigans. But it sounded like something Michael would get up to back in his infamous days. But also exciting, there was, there is, you probably know in the UK, they're probably the country that has the best, magazines and publications. You've got NME and Melody Maker and, all the different publications. But Mojo magazine, edition 376, has a feature article on Ringo from the Beatles. But it also has a big deep dive with INXS saying, I think the moniker says, when we were the biggest band in the world. So it got my attention. So it may be in light of the pending release of, the Listen Like Thieves.
Yeah, that we're going to talk about today.
It is a publication you can order online. So it sounds like there's a little bit of press going on, which I'm excited about for the band.
Excellent. We need it.
Correct. Now, B, something came across my desk today, made me think of you, okay?
Oh, dear.
And this was a set list that just popped up for INXS touring around 1986, around about the time you saw them, and they were playing in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Now, Nottingham, to me, I have images of Trent Bridge.
Men on Tights.
I have images of Robin Hood, etc. There. What part of England is Nottingham? Give me the county.
It's not far from where I was. So that's in the Midlands.
In the Midlands, okay. Yeah. So on the 21st of May, 1986, the Listen Like Thieves tour, you probably were on this particular, as I said, tour, seeing them at the Odeon.
I wish I was on the tour, but no, I wait to see them.
You tried to get on the tour.
I tried.
Yeah, hello, let me in. But here's the set list, which is really interesting. I thought for our listeners we would share this because this is a set list that I was too young to see and not in the country at the time. But they opened up the show here with Love Is What I Say, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Number 2, Kiss the Dirt. Number 3, Melting in the Sun. Number 4, Send a Message. Number 5, Dancing on the Jetty. Number 6, Listen Like Thieves. 7, Biting Bullets. 8, Original Sin. 9, This Time. 10 One by One, 11 What You Need, 12 Same Direction, 13 Shine Like It Does, 14 Burn For You, 15 Red Red Sun, 16 Don't Change, 17 Johnson's Airplane, and 18 The Swing. So very, very heavy of the Swing album, Listen Like Thieves album. Just scantily looking at that down there a little bit closer.
There's no encore on that list.
No, and there's only one song that's not on those two albums, which is Don't Change. So this is heavily, I think 17 of the songs are between Listen Like Thieves and The Swing, and one song is off Shabu Shabar. So I just thought that was just an interesting step back in time, hello Kylie, to just recognise a set list that was part of a different period that, for me, I wouldn't have seen the band, but you must have seen a lot of those tracks played on the gig that you went to. So, so there you go, listeners. Also, too, a cool mockumentary movie's coming out. There's a sequel, B, on the September the 12th called Spinal Tap 2. Now, there was an INXS link here. Back in 1992, around February, March, the band picked up Band of the Year in Australia at the ARIA Awards, and they received it from the band Spinal Tap, which is a fake band, but it's sort of a send-up spoof band of all the cliches that a band goes through. So
turn it up to number 11.
Correct. They often say it's the greatest sort of mockumentary of all time and set the foundation for many others. Ricky Gervais, when he picked up a lifetime sort of, big achievement award, had the director and the main guy in Spinal Tap called Christopher Guest present him with an award because most of Ricky's shows are mockumentaries, but he was inspired by the guys of Spinal Tap, etc.
Okay,
so,
that's cool.
So September 12, 2025. I can't wait to see this movie released. I believe Elton John and Paul McCartney and Trisha Yearwood and a few others are in this new version. Food for thought.
Talking about Paul McCartney, he's on the bandwagon as such for getting Joe Cocker into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I saw a letter that he'd written.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Joe's is nominated this year.
Oh, right.
So he's nominated, but they haven't finalised those who are selected. So he's part of he's on the ballot. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to have him on your side, wouldn't it?
Well, I actually happened, ironically, to play 2 Joe Cocker songs last night on YouTube, etc. There, the one from that 9.5 Weeks, You Can Leave Your Hat On, and then Up Where We Belong, which was in the Office and Gentleman movie. So it'd be great to see Joe get in. He's a true, singer and interpreter of material. He wasn't a sort of a songwriter per se, but he was a great interpreter of other people's material. All right, we thought we'd round out a little bit. We haven't done this for a while. A few birthdays, quite a lot of famous people born in March. B. We've got, what have we got down here? We've got Dave Gilmour. From Pink Floyd. We've got Roger Daltrey from The Who, Eric Clapton, Elton John, John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers, Lou Reed, R.I.P., Angus from AC/DC. We've got Billy Corgan, and most of his bandmates are actually born in March from the Pumpkins. Steve Tyler, Tom Scholes from Boston, Justin Hawkins from The Darkness, and our very own, later in the month, Andrew Farris from INXS.
Oh, of course.
So,
and my personal rock star,
Yeah.
James Hewitt, my husband.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. So big happy birthdays to all of those people who are March born. Definitely a great array of talent there, Boo. But that's the news of the week.
Hey, this is Tim Farris. Big shout out to Haydn and B. Also want to say hello to all the listeners and INXS fans. Thanks for listening. I love you, Haydn and B. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Hi, this is Ella from Middelburg, the Netherlands. You're listening to INXS Access All Areas with Haydn and B. And now it's time for the topic of the week.
All right, B, topic of the week. We're always excited when we can get to talk about an album, and it is quite special that we can go back in time a little bit to the past, but more importantly, step into the future and talk about the reissue version of Listen Like Thieves, which is only some 6 weeks away. And as I said, we've mentioned this a little bit in the last month or two about its pending release. We were sort of informed about this about a year or so ago, I think maybe from Sam Evans, etc., there behind the scenes, that they were doing something for the Listen Like Thieves 40th anniversary, which is great. Look, it's on its way. And I think for our party coming up, it times in very, very nicely.
Perfectly, yeah.
It comes out that same week. What we can do today a little bit is just go back and just examine Listen Like Thieves a little bit from where INXS were at the time when they put the album out, and then we'll start to ease into the Redux album, the track listings, and some of the bonus material that some fans can expect to see if you're not totally aware of what it's going to look like. All images and all sort of promo stuff that's out there at the moment suggests it's a really detailed, deep dive, extensive bonus material, and I think for a lot of INXS enthusiasts who are probably sick of getting kick 20 years, kick 25 years, kick 30 years, kick 35 years reissues. They've gone, full tail, hammer and tong on this particular one to good sort of cut and polish, basically add a whole bunch of relevant material at the time, like the Albert Hall gig, and put something that fans can be really, really, pleased to own and not necessarily sort of repeat buy, which sometimes, bands, they re-release things and they put one new song out or they add one little thing and they're sort of selling the same stuff to the same audience. So I think this is an instance here where, a Redux reboot version is a worthy purchase. And there are different levels of purchases you can make, whether you go vinyl or CD or whatever you do. From all reports, it's looking like a must-have sort of purchase for all of us INXSers.
Also, don't forget, we've got the digital downloads as well for the people that are not sort of have got the record players anymore.
Yeah,
Haydn.
That doesn't include me. So
you still got your record player?
Well, look, I've got one somewhere, but I'm probably a bit of a CD guy still, in terms of going back to that. I like to hold the CD. I like to look at the track notes and open up all the little sort of things inside and read about it. But let's go back and deep dive on Listen Like Thieves, just some background information. So obviously, if we go back to 1985, the album came out on the 14th of October. Look, 40 years this year, so it's obviously a momentous sort of anniversary. It was an interesting time for the band, B, because they were, I guess, shifting sort of, producers. They'd had Mark Opitz, obviously, successfully, bring the sound out on Shabu Shabar in 82. They then sort of went to work with Nick Launay, who was sort of the, belle of the ball at that time in terms of his involvement with, bands like Midnight Oil and The Birthday Party and the Models and a lot of UK acts and things like that as well. And he was, quite innovative around that 1983-84 period. And then, they went to work with, with Chris Thomas, who, from all reports, was definitely hunting the band down. He would turn up at gigs, he would sort of make himself known, and I think he was definitely out there selling his virtues to go work, with the band themselves. And he ultimately, started with Listen Like Thieves, and you could sort of say that, commercial peak-wise, he was there for the triumvirate of Listen Like Thieves, Kick and X, those three pivotal albums. And Chris's, history was littered with success. He'd worked with the Sex Pistols, he'd worked, with the Pretenders, Roxy Music, Elton John, the Beatles. He had a resume of high regard. And I guess, one of his mantras was when he met with the band, particularly having seen them live, he would often talk a lot to the band about, well, when I hear you, play live, you sound nothing like you do on record. And, I guess what his goal was to capture that sort of live sound that the band were known for to come out on a sort of a record. Like These was probably your sort of entree into the band itself. But tell us a bit about your relationship with this record.
I think I've told this story so many times that, that I was at college at the time. I was a bit of a Durrani, but not too much. I used to find it a bit too polished. My girlfriend at the time, who was heavily into it, said, Simon & Bon's been going on about this band called INXS, or I think she might have even said Inks, actually. And then she showed me a photo. She says, I think you'd like the lead singer at this band. And then we went to go and see them. So we got tickets to go and see them. So I went out and got their album, which at the time, when you're flicking through the vinyls at the record shop, that was the first one that I saw. And I just picked that. I didn't even think that there would be other albums to pick on. So, it was a gatefold album. It was just beautiful to look at. And, I just played it a lot before the concert.
Obviously, with this particular album, there's a real sense when you go back and listen to some of these tracks. And look, obviously, a lot of the INXS fans over time probably would say this is probably their guitar album. It's quite heavy on guitar. I think it's a bit of a response to the swing. Swing was massive, particularly in Australia and certain European countries, and South America was huge, but it didn't sort of lift, in the UK. It didn't really lift in America, despite all successes elsewhere. And I know Tim probably felt that maybe it was a little bit overproduced. That era, I sort of doing my research for the podcast today, was going back to that 1983-84 period, where the swing was out. And, it was definitely probably the height of that synth era. was probably the height of those synthy haircuts. And I'm going to mention a few names here who are so emblematic of this particular period in time, B. So I guess I'm going to mention Howard Jones, Nick Kershaw, Culture Club, Duran Duran, Flock of Seagulls. I mean, a lot of these bands are
Human League were a big one.
Human League, absolutely. Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark. I mean, had a lot of these bands around this 83, 84 era that had heavy synth arrangements, but heavy sort of puffed up, blow wave sort of
it was all about
melody, flash, funny pop-up hair. Thompson Twins is another one.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
All these bands around this particular time, and I always think the INXS sort of the swing album cover is always a sort of, in hindsight, a very dated cover, seeing the band, the way they sort of look to present themselves. They are so of that era and that time. Looking at, say, Listen Like These, it's such, I think, a bit of a response to not having an overproduced album per se, having more of a live sound, having more of a guitar sound, and also breaking away from the pack of some of those other bands and that sort of gamut of artists who they're all lumped into that new wave type of that new romantic new wave movement. And I think INXS really managed to do that quite successfully with this album.
Yeah. And that's what I said. That's what I was looking at. I was looking at all these polished, what was in the charts, and then they came through and you're like, wow, and they can play.
Well, it's an interesting point about talking about how they can play, because obviously on the back of this album, the touring they did, I was thinking today, one of the best compliments you can get as a band is to have a publication like Musician Magazine come out and say that you're the best live band in the world at this particular time. And they were acknowledged in Musician Magazine, I think in 86, which is a real alternative sort of magazine. It's a lot of articles in there about, guitars and drums and techniques and, industry sort of type techie speak. But also they do highlight certain bands that could just play. And I think unlike certain artists these days that can sort of do something in their at home and put it up on YouTube, or do something and put it up on Spotify, INXS, just proved with this album, just their live chops, that they could not only produce a great album, but also go out and play it live. It was sort of this, I guess, stepping stone to much bigger things that obviously happened on Kick. But like a lot of bands of this particular era, I think U2 had just come off the War album in around 83, 84, which was that stepping stone to Unforgettable Fire album as well. And then that was a stepping stone to the Joshua Tree. You had, I think, REM had an album called Document at this particular time with a song called The One I Love, I think was on it, which was a stepping stone to Green and then Out of Time. Listen Like Thieves was a real stepping stone album where they broke in America, and they sort of broke in England to a point where they're starting to be taken seriously with, some top 40 success, top 50 success with some of the tracks and singles there. And they were gradually pushing, England, down, the INXS sort of slope, so to speak, where, they were sort of just relentlessly going back there to win over the UK market, which was, a fickle market. A discerning market, but one that ultimately, I think this album helped, set up Kick and set up X and those other, releases. I think around this time they supported Queen, at Wembley, and got a few vegetables thrown at them, but kept going.
I wonder how they managed that.
Well, they're probably used to from getting beer bottles thrown at them.
No, I mean how they got the gig, you silly bugger.
What, with Queen?
Yeah.
Well, look, I think around that...
Because that was a massive band at the time as well.
Yeah. I think around that particular time, okay, bands like Queen, and often this would occur, INXS have done the same thing, and probably other bands like U2, is that you would pick an understudy band that was emerging, that had cred and was coming through, and in a way, as a double bill, if you're sort of Queen coming out to play, you want to have that band underneath that would bring another wave of younger fans through. To enjoying them. Like I think U2 brought Oasis on tour on one of their eras in America, and got them to play under them. So because they knew that you'd have this cred of some younger fans coming on to say a U2 gig that were into Oasis. So it was probably an important stepping stone for that. Obviously around that particular time, I know Brian May was effusive with INXS. Loved the fact that everyone who's in Australia years and years later said, "Oh, I knew they'd be big because we saw them at a certain stage just coming through." And I guess, as we know, Michael and Freddie, had some fun and were singing together, and Tim was in hotel rooms seeing them, ham it up and things. So,
yeah.
Look, Listen Like These was, as I said, quite pivotal for them getting a little more of a global reach. And, it all culminated, I guess, with, the What You Need single, which, spearheaded the album and was obviously a last-minute addition to the album, which, I think Chris Thomas said, look, I think there's no obvious hit. There's some great songs on this album, but I think something with a hook or a hit or something that jumps off the page, we need one more. And I think that's the art of a great producer that pushes a band and says, look, we need one more. We can get better on this and we can go harder. And sometimes, you hear certain tracks where producers have pushed band members to play the 50th take on things, sometimes to really nail it. This was an important advice that Chris Thomas gave to the band because, with what you need, essentially with only a couple of days remaining to record something, Andrew and Michael went away, polished up a sort of a demo track that I think was the working title, Funk Song Number 13, and they then were able to sort of go off and work on it and then demo it and then suddenly, come back and produce it. It spearheaded sort of, I guess, the commercial peak into the US. So interestingly, in Australia, it got released as the first single, and it came number 2 in the charts and whatever there. But in America, they released this. They released This Time first in America, which stiffed a little bit, and then they put out What You Need second. And then obviously it charted and was obviously the groundswell that, propelled the album to over 2 million sort of album sales in America and another 3.5 million around the world. So
I love the story. I love the story that it's actually called What You Need, and that's what he wanted.
Yeah,
that's what he needed.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, and look, it was probably also too, they've come off, a couple of albums with the Swing and Shabu Shabu, where there was a combination of, different sort of songwrites. But this is a real Michael Andrew track, in terms of, Michael's lyrics and Andrew's funk stuff. Breaking down just the album, we'll extend this when we go through the Redux version. We've got Listen Like Thieves. I mean, let's look at this A side or side 1B for a moment. Back in the old record days where you would turn your record over. Talk about front loaded. The first 5 songs here, you've got What You Need starts off the album. You've got Listen Like Thieves coming at number 2. Probably, as we said last week when we spoke about Listen Like Thieves, which was that song that was better than Elegantly Wasted.
Yeah, right.
That was the last co-write with all the band, got a co-write together as a single. Kiss the Dirt, number 3, which was the 3rd single. You've got Shine Like It Does, which was never really a single, but a bit like Mystified. It was a well-known album track that transcended the airwaves and got a lot of airplay and radio play. Good and Bad Times, a Kirk and Michael co-write that I think we might have played on one of our exit sort of shows recently.
Yeah.
A big pumping, heavy, probably one of the heaviest guitar songs. Flipping over to side 2, you've got another Kirk and Michael song, Biting Bullets. Then you've got This Time, which is an Andrew, soul track. As in soul contribution, right? You've got then Timmy with Three Sisters, the instrumental. You've then got Same Direction, which is both Andrew and Michael, and One by One, which is Andrew and Michael. And then it finishes up with Red Red Sun, which is a John and Andrew track.
Yeah. Jenny Morris did a lot of the backing singing on a lot of these tracks.
A lot of stuff on the tour, I think, with them. You
can hear her a lot in Same Direction.
One of the interesting things, doing our research, Ray Cooper, he's that bald guy you always see in those big tribute concerts like the Concert for George and Elton John gigs and some of the, Paul McCartney gigs and things. He's a big percussionist there and he's always quite pronounced in his percussion moves, but he contributes on Same Direction.
Oh.
Obviously, our friend Philip Morlock from the podcast previously did a lot of the design and the artwork and photography that, as we know, extended all the way out to Cooper Petey for the Kiss the Dirt film clip. But I think he had quite a big involvement with, the album design things, etc. there.
Yeah.
The cover itself always has that live feel to it and that sort of attraction to it where it sort of has that sort of almost silhouette vision of Michael in a singlet, I think, on the front cover and then the band on the back. Look, this is Listen Like These back in the day. And as I said, the album was that sort of, that stepping stone into a global footprint that the band were generating. I know in America, obviously, went double platinum. In Australia, went over 4 times platinum. Which is significant. I think from critics around the world, it got, really strong reviews in most of the major sort of publications and things. All right, so let's turn our attention to what the deluxe edition is going to look like. So, excitingly, the band have used the services, again, of Giles Martin, who's been very, very much almost like the in-band sort of producer of a lot of the back catalogues and sort of remastering a lot of the INXS master tapes and things. And a lot of stuff, I think, has been sort of done out of Abbey Road, where sort of the son of George, Giles, obviously he's based, etc. there. And we're going to put a bit of a call out to the INXS management, see if we can get Giles on once this the media starts to, flow his way. We'd love to have a chat with him about this album. Now, B, a little bit like a little Christmas toy and gifts there. Can I share with you what's on?
Please share. Yes.
Right.
Not only are the Sonics going to be amazing coming out of Abbey Road, but share.
So, look, from what I understand, as I said, it's going to be sort of mixed by Giles Martin and Paul Hicks, who's his offsider. So you're going to get, I guess a Redux maybe version, a remastered version, I believe, of the 11 tracks that we just broke down a moment ago on CD1. But CD2, there's a bunch of demos and outtakes. Now, it says number one in demos and outtakes, we're rolling. It's 1985, studio dialogue,
Oh,
which will be interesting. Number 2, funk song. Number 11, take 2, working title of What You Need, alternate take.
cool.
So
Ooh.
there's a little bit of an Easter egg deep cut there.
Yeah.
There's going to be press the blue and red button, studio dialogue.
Mhm.
So this will be sort of time and a place stuff. And it reminds me a bit of the Beatles stuff recently with
Yeah.
that came out where we were able to sit in the Let It Be sessions,
Yeah.
We've got Kiss the Dirt, number 4, studio demo. Number 5, Meaning of the Song, Listen Like Thieves, an interview excerpt. We've then got number 6, Listen Like Thieves, a studio demo version. We've got INXS SAFM radio spots, obviously some interview at the particular time.
Yeah.
One by One is number 8, studio demo. This Time, number 9, studio demo. Shine Like It Does, studio demo. Good and Bad Times, number 11, alternate take. Red Sun, studio jam. Can't wait to hear that one.
Ooh, yeah.
Number 13, Red Sun, alternate take. 14, recording of Same Direction.
Yep.
So maybe we get to hear a bit of Jenny on that. 15, another version, funk song number 9, working title of Same Direction. A lot of funk songs, B.
Yeah.
We get to go number 16, What You Need, studio demo. Number 17, Shine Like It Does, home demo. Number
Home
18
demo. Ooh.
Yeah, number 18, Listen Like Thieves, home demo. Number 19, Kiss the Dirt, home demo. So that's the CD2 version. Now, the one that I'm really looking forward to is, CD3 live from Albert Hall. Now, some say Albert Hall, and I don't know if this was Gary Beers. I think
Yeah.
the other
I know what you're going to say. It doesn't
What?
sound good when you're on stage. Is that what he said?
Did he say that on our
Yeah.
podcast, or did he
He
say
did. He did
Right,
to us.
okay.
Yeah.
that? Okay. I wasn't sure if he mentioned the other week at the Asher Moon gig, but look, Albert Hall is just a stunning venue. Have you ever been to Albert Hall?
I've been outside it because I used to work
Yeah.
up the road. Yeah.
I mean, one of my favourite live sort of concerts is the concert for George a year after he passed. And was at the
Yeah.
Hall. And I mean, looking from the stage to the bleachers and up high and low, it's such a beautiful theatre, But live in London, UK, June 24th, 1986. So let me go back to my Nottingham photo before. This is very, very close to the Nottingham gig, B. This is only 1 month later than the Nottingham gig.
Yeah. Yeah. They were all one or 2 days after each other.
Literally a month later, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's an intro by Pete Drummond. Now, I'm not sure who Pete Drummond is. Maybe he's sort of the MC of the event.
Mhm.
They play Same Direction, number 2, Soul Mistake off Shabu, number 3, Kiss the Dirt, number 4, Biting Bullets, 5. I think Mick Jagger was there for that part and liked it, Biting Bullets. Number 6, Burn For You. Number 7, Do What You Do, which was the album track off the Pretty in Pink soundtrack,
That's
which
right.
was
Yeah.
high at the time on the compilation charts. That was number 7. Number 8, Original Sin. Number 9, Different World. I don't think I've ever heard Different World sung in a live setting.
Live. Yeah.
Hopefully it's better than the album version. Okay. Number 10, Shine Like It Does. Number 11, Listen Like Thieves. 12, One by One. 13, What You Need. And number 14, Red Sun. So this is an interesting sort of, set list there for that particular gig. Look, this is obviously going to be jam-packed with, there's lots of lift outs and there's a lot of, promotional material, I think, in this sort of said, reissue version.
So that's just the CD. I believe you got different things on the vinyl. Is that right?
Well, look, I think there's different price sort of tags, and we might sort of, as I said, when we get closer to the release date, and we got all the goodies there, because look, sometimes these things are subject to change, and sometimes until you get it and see it, you don't know what's official and what's not. But I think, look, you're right. I think there's a vinyl sort of edition coming out, and as I said, there'll be some streaming stuff. But I think from the traditional setting on this particular sort of format here, this is going to be a pretty sort of big collector's item.
Oh, yeah. But I think if you want to get them all,
Well, there are pre-releases there, and you can sort of pre-order a lot of this sort of stuff now. I'm looking just online as we speak, and I think, look, one of the more expensive versions is, I think, for $158. I think it's Australian dollars. You get, I think, the album, and there's a booklet and lift outs,
which I think is sold out, Haydn.
Is it?
I hope they're printing more.
Well, look, I think there's there, and I think it might come with the 3 CDs as well. So I think it's a CD LP. Master, get together of everything. So I think you can sort of get everything there.
And I love the image that they've done. They've used the same image, but they've really heightened up the colours, the orange. It's so on fire. It's beautiful.
Well, yeah, I used to always look at Listen Like These as their Australian album, things like Three Sisters, which is sort of a Blue Mountains landmark, and Kiss the Dirt when they're out in the Cooper Pedy area, and had this live hot sort of setting, and Red Sun. It had a very visceral sort of incendiary type, Australian sort of feel to all that, lent itself to hot, sweaty, rock gigs and things like that as well. And around the Australian May time, which was summer as well, it sort of lent itself to that, primal, hot heat wave conditions,
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I guess there's going to be various versions. You're going to have some LP sort of versions, which include some of the CDs. You can just buy the CD versions with the extra sort of 2 bonus CD versions and things. And there'll be various price points for different countries and things, but it looks like you can do a lot of pre-ordering now. And a lot of the time with these pre-ordering formats it's a great way that, production and people can suss out the demand and how much they need to go to print and start to do. And they might sort of have a certain allocation that starts off at a certain amount. And then given the demand of that, they might suddenly go back to print. A bit like the book we reviewed a couple of years ago, B. Remember with the author there?
Yeah, great
They had
book.
different versions.
Yeah, awesome. It's lovely to be part of that as well.
Yeah.
And this feels great for me, because this was like my entry into INXS, so it's beautiful.
As I said, for fans out there that not even just passive fans, but the real true collectors there's some really great unique material here for fans who might just love this particular album. And there are people out there that some of them were like, I really like that sort of Shabu Shabata to Swing Listen Like Thieves sort of, triumvirate of albums. And some go, a lot of people, when Kick was so popular, like, oh yeah, Kicks are pretty good, but I'm a Thieves man or I'm a Swing.
Shabba.
Yeah, there's always that sort of type of stuff there. But this is sort of the time where INXS might have been your band, but then afterwards with Kick, they became the world's band. And this album may have a soft spot for certain people of this particular ilk, particularly, in Australia, without being sort of disrespectful to the rest of the world. I mean, they were still sort of quite an iconic band by this stage in Australia, but hadn't quite got the global footprint yet until this album came out and did what it did. But look, we hope that sort of leading up to May the 9th, there may be some opportunities, as I said, to get a chance to chat with, with Paul Hicks, who was a mixer on the album, or Giles, or some of the band members who maybe had some involvements. I'm sure Tim, is always hands-on with a lot of the stuff that goes out and things. So, look, we hope this lends itself to, plenty of guests that can come on and maybe just give a time and a place context to the material that's going to hit our eyes and our earbuds.
Back to the 80s with the demos. Pretty excited.
Yeah. So, as I said, B, that's probably a bit of a wrap there, with everything to do with the album. I'm sure, we will maybe review some of the stuff once it comes out, and then, maybe have a listening party or having our patrons come on a Zoom call would be great, let alone having it blaring out at our party come May the 10th.
Oh, that's a given.
When it's all in your hands.
Hey, this is Paul Jolly from Sydney, and this is The Big Rat.
Well, Haydn, that was awesome. I loved hearing all about that again. I mean, I can't remember. It's got to be over 5 years ago that we actually deep dived into that album. The new version's coming out.
Yeah, and you can go back to listen to our album review, which we were probably young and innocent and didn't know what we were doing back in those days 5 years ago. But yeah, we had a poll coming out. I'm a bit nervous to ask you about this. Give us the news from last week.
Okay, so last week, Haydn and I put our boxing gloves on, or wrestled to the death of whose song would be the winner out of Listen Like Thieves and Elegantly Wasted. Do you have any feelings that you might have been the winner?
Well, based upon your sort of chuckling earlier when you mentioned about a poll, I sensed a bit of a like... so what? I'm a rock star, Pink style. So, give me the bad news, possibly, B.
Okay, so far we've only had the poll out for 2 days.
Right.
And so thank you everybody for going onto the website and putting your vote to the poll. Okay, give me a drum roll. Who came second?
Who came second? But I came second. Okay, give us the bad news.
Okay, you came second. I came first. Not I, but Elegantly Wasted.
It's a 2-day poll. Okay, so what's the percentage split?
Well, I must admit the percentage split is 1%.
Oh, 1%. That's a tie.
It's not Haydn. It's a 1% win.
I've just voted myself now, so I've tipped
Right,
over.
I haven't voted yet.
Look, listeners, listen to last week's episode where we do a deep dive on namesake album titles. That is, songs that were singles off albums that often were, that were the name of said album. So songs like, Listen Like Thieves and, Elegantly Wasted were of that nature. Underneath the Colours was. Swing was a song, but not a single. But we did a bit of a deep dive showdown between those two tracks. You can still get your votes in. Okay, when does the poll cut off?
Ooh, I think we should
March 31st.
Oh, all right then. Okay. Until I keep winning.
Okay.
No, I'm joking.
We'll see where we're at. Okay, but look, it did engage various comments and things. And Kate, keep posting what your thoughts are on each track and where your position lands and things. All right. Now, B, with the party, etc., is there one little thing I was just going to ask you? Is there one little sort of secret sort of addition to the party there that would be exciting for listeners? Is there something there that when they turn up?
I can't. No. Don't let me let anything out the bag yet. I've got to keep a lot in. It's really hard for me not to spill the beans because I'm not very good.
You want to excite some more people to come along, so you've got to give them something to go with.
No, I'm not going to say anything. You have to keep listening in until the weeks. But I must say, there's only 10 tickets left, guys. So you better hurry up if you want to be part of it, because we're not going to extend it any more than that. But get your stripy trousers on, or you're just going to your levers.
I don't know. I haven't even thought that far ahead. But either way, it'll be a great night.
It's going to be a good night.
All right, B. Well, it's time to go out with a bit of a tribute song. And I would very much like to go out with this particular episode with a tribute song from the album, a track we alluded to a little bit earlier. I think a bit of a fan favourite, something the band still played in their latter years live on occasions, and particularly with acoustic guitar with Kirk. And that's Shine Like It Does. As I said earlier, this album has lots of sort of descriptions that relate to sort of summer and Australia and heat and primal sort of motivations and things. So things like what you need and, shine like it does, and red sun and kiss the dirt. And it was very descriptive in its adjectives, So I think this is a track B that was really one of their first ballads. I think when you think back to their material, and was a bit of a prelude to Never Tear Us Apart. And we've got a live version we'll go with today that probably sums up a great track played to the audience.
Yeah, and don't forget, do you remember we went last time together to Michael's memorial, and it's inscripted with Shine Like It Does lyrics on the actual memorial. Mm.
Yeah, and there's some good covers around about this. I know Sean Kelly from The Models does a cover version of this as well. And, it's just got a lovely song with a lovely sentiment and just a beautiful little 3-minute track that never outweighs its welcome. So, B, we're going to go with that today. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from B.
Because everyone, it's called Shine Like It Does.
I have 2 pieces of rare footage for you today. The first one I'm going to play you is in Melbourne on the 4th of November in 1995 with Michael fronting the band. Fantastic. And then some uber rare footage of Kirk being the front man in Argentina on October the 15th, 2007. Enjoy and shine like it does.
Well, hello, welcome to INXS Access All Areas, episode 215, the podcast that aims to dive deep in all things great about our favourite band, doing it with a bunch of listeners around the world, patrons, INXSs, but more importantly, doing it with my partner in crime, B. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.